Hi. Today we're going to be going over some functions in the Mark II that I have not seen talked about, so we're just going to immediately jump into things. So what we're going to be going over is the control functions and the assigns. Really quick before we do that, we're going to go into the menu. We're going to go to the right and we're going to go into control function here. We're going to go into preferences and we're going to switch these first two knobs into memory. This will make it so all the buttons can be changed per memory. One cool feature that was offered on the Mark I is that we were able to use these knobs as assigns. If you are a new looper and you don't know what assigns are, basically you can change what this knob does or any of these buttons to something in the loop station. For example, I can have this knob turn down the volume of this track. Another example is I can turn on an effect using one of these buttons. With Mark II, you have way more options. All of these effects and track buttons can be used as assigns. And not only is there 10 of them here, but also an extra page of 10 more in the undo redo page. So that sounds confusing, but the only way to get a hang of this is to actually go ahead and use the assigns. So for example, let's say I wanted to turn on effect A here using track effects 5 right here. Well, we can do that. So we're going to press menu again, or use the right arrow. And we're going to go to assigns. Now we're going to turn on the first assign and go into it. Now we want to choose our source. This is going to be the button that we want to use. So for our example, we want to find TR5 effects play. Then we want to go to the right. And now we need to choose what the button actually does. So we're going to look for T effects A, and automatically it will choose how it will be turned on and off. For the example, we will leave this as is. So now if we push this effects button, you can see that it only turns on when I hold it. Well, that's another function in the assigns. If we go back, there's this mode here. Now it's set to moment. That means it'll only work on these buttons when I hold it. If I set it to toggle, now when I press it, it only switches when I hit it and release. Same thing with the track button. I can find TR5 TR play, which means track 5 track in play mode. So now if I hit it, it turns on the effect. But you may notice right now when I hit the track button, not only is it doing the assign, but it's scrolling through the track settings in the track. So maybe you are okay with this, but there actually is a way to stop the menu from changing if you want to use these track buttons. And that has to do with the control functions. So for example, I can have this track button not bring up the menu. And furthermore, I can have this button changed to any color that I want. So how do we do this? We need to press menu, press it again, go to control function, and now we need to go into the play mode. I'll explain what these two are later on. And now we need to look for track 5. Here it is. You can see that there's a bunch of different functions that you can choose, not exclusive to track 5. For example, you can turn up the tempo, you can mute a microphone. But for this example, we will either have it on off, which is all the way to the left, which it will do nothing except for being read by the assigns. Or you can set it to LED and choose the colors. But how do we set the colors from here? Well, we go to the right, and now we have 2 colors to choose from. And what this will do, the minimum will be the default color, as you can see, it's changing. And the maximum color will be after you press it. So right now, the default is set to blue, and when I push it, it should turn white. Just like that. It is easy to color code all of your buttons now, because now this button should only be on when this is white. Pretty cool, huh? So let's say I want to do the same thing, but with effect B, and I want to do this in the undo menu. As you saw before here in the assign, we set it to track 5 TR play. And if you look closely, the word play is in parentheses. As I said before, you not only have 10 of these buttons here to use, but an additional 10 in the undo page, which means this button here is independent from the button, the same button in the undo page. So we can make another assign, find track 5, track undo. We're going to set it to toggle. And now we're going to find T effects B. So now I will also color code it in the control function. Going to go to undo this time. And we're going to look for track 5 track. Set it to LED. Same thing, we'll set it to blue for the minimum and white for maximum. Now, as you see here in the regular play page, if I push this, effects A will turn on. And if I go to the undo page and I press the same button, now this button will turn on. Again, these two buttons are independent from each other because there are 2 pages of them, which allow you to do way more signs that was offered on the Mark 1. And it gets even crazier than that because right now we have it set up so that this works for every single bank. But we can target specific effects inside of banks. How do we do this? So let's go back to assign 1. Now on the target, instead of finding T effects A, we're going to find T effects double letters. And what I mean by that is finding T effects AA. Anytime in the assigns that you see double letters, this will indicate the bank followed by the effect. So right here, this means track effects bank A, effect A. So now if we push this button, you see it doesn't do anything. That's because we are in bank B. If we go to bank A, now the button works. And it even works outside of the bank. So for instance, we go to bank B, the effect was on, but we can turn it off, and we go back, and it's already off. So yes, control function and assigns are the number one thing to get into when it comes to the Mark II. It allows for various usage and techniques and faster ways to get around the loop station with your routines. You don't even have to use the LED function in the control functions. This could be any other function, and it can still be read by the assigns. That's because no matter what you set any of these buttons to do, they will always be read by the assigns. So now let's change an effect parameter. So on A, we'll set this to a filter. Now let's say instead of this button turning on effect A, what I want instead is to change this value, the depth value on filter. Let's say we want to change it from 50 to 100 just by using this button. We will start over on assign 1. You don't have to do this. You can make it another assign if you want, but I will just reuse assign 1. So we'll have the same button. We will set it to toggle for the tutorial. And now we are already on T effects AA. But as you can see, what follows has to do with different things involving this effect. You have the effect type, the control value, which is what the knobs control. So for this filter, that would be the cutoff. But what we want is to find PRM, which stands for parameter. And for each effect, you can only choose up to 4 parameters, or the first 4 important parameters. As far as I know, parameter 1 equals the rate in the filter, parameter 2 equals the depth, parameter 3 equals the resonance, and parameter 4 is the cutoff. You can also find stuff like the sequence being on and off, the sequence sync setting, the retrig setting, the rate, and the sequencer step max value. For this example, we will do parameter 3, which is the depth, and we will choose the minimum to be 50 and the maximum to be 100. So now when I push this button, it's 100. Yep, that's pretty much all for the controls and the assigns. Good luck.